she is an egotistical bully. And she was such a brat that she wanted to control every scene, wanted to see all the dailies, wanted to do her own cut and did her own cut of the movie. All this is very unusual for just an actress in the film.
Blake Lively will be sued.
Megyn Kelly just exposed that Blake Lively is headed straight for jail after orchestrating a pathetic smear campaign against Justin Baldoni.
And used threats and coercion and bullying to do it.
She tried so hard to play the victim, but all she got was a one-way ticket to absolute disgrace.
Justin didn't harass Blake. Blake was interested in wresting control of this movie away from Justin, who was the director and the producer. She was just an actress in it.
Now, it's time for Hollywood's queen of manipulation to face the consequences behind bars.
And so that's what happens to you, right? You run into somebody who seems like a witch who will take advantage of you and hurt you until finally even that kind of a guy rises up. Now, he didn't do it himself exactly.
Blake Lively really thought she could waltz into Hollywood, hijack a movie, bulldoze the director, and somehow come out looking like the victim. And yet, here we are, watching the biggest legal disaster of 2024 unfold like a reality show gone wrong. It Ends With Us was supposed to be an emotional masterpiece, a faithful adaptation of Colleen Hoover's best-selling novel, but thanks to Lively's insufferable need for control.
And she was such a brat that she wanted to control every scene, wanted to see all the dailies, wanted to do her own cut and did her own cut of the movie. All this is very unusual for just an actress in the film, even if she's the lead, and that she's now tried to turn this whole thing into a PR victory for her to get past what appears to be the fact that she is an egotistical bully.
It's now best known for bombing at the box office and igniting a multi-million-dollar legal war. Critics eviscerated it, audiences cringed, and it became a PR nightmare faster than Lively could rewrite another script with her brilliant comedic touch.
And then she continued. She took that stiletto and stuck it in his heart when he was down there self-flagellating, being so sorry for anything having to do with his testosterone.
The perjury allegations alone could land her in prison for up to 4 years, and if the courts decide to make an example out of her, she could be facing the harshest penalties possible. Because, believe it or not, lying under oath isn't just another Hollywood publicity stunt. It's a felony. California Penal Code Section 118 makes it crystal clear that perjury carries up to 4 years in state prison and fines of up to $10,000. And let's be honest, if Blake really did falsify evidence or deliberately lie in court, the judge isn't going to care how many couture dresses she owns.
And that she's now tried to turn this whole thing into a PR victory for her to get past what appears to be the fact that she is an egotistical bully.
And perjury isn't even the worst of it. Let's talk about defamation, because Blake Lively didn't just try to ruin Baldoni's movie, she tried to ruin his entire career. In California, defamation laws don't mess around, and if it's proven that she maliciously fabricated lies to destroy Baldoni's reputation, she's in for a world of legal pain.
Rises up. Now, he didn't do it himself exactly. He hired a badass named Brian Friedman. And he has badass women like me defending him. Mm-hmm. But slowly but surely, I think the male class is learning down on the floor, squirming and apologizing for being a man is not the way.
Defamation lawsuits have led to massive financial settlements, and Baldoni's $400 million lawsuit against her, that's not just a number he pulled out of thin air. That's the price she might have to pay for running a calculated smear campaign.
I defend Justin Baldoni in this lawsuit with Blake Lively because I think she's horrible and she's made up this whole thing because she tried to steal his movie.
And let's not forget, she's also being sued by a PR firm for $7 million after they claimed her false statements destroyed their business and reputation. So now, Blake isn't just fighting one lawsuit, she's drowning in legal battles. She might have spent years perfecting her red carpet smirk, but let's see how well that holds up when she's facing a courtroom full of evidence that exposes her lies.
Oh, he burst in on me uninvited when I was breastfeeding my child. She says we should run lines together. He's like, anytime. And she's like, come on over. I'm breastfeeding the baby in the trailer, but come on over. So it's written there, black and white. She invited him in, and a lot of women are comfortable having someone around when they breastfeed, so it's not so weird, especially out in Hollywood.
Megyn Kelly didn't hold back when talking about how badly Blake Lively screwed up, comparing her to Amber Heard 2.0, which, let's be real, isn't a comparison anyone wants. Kelly pointed out that Lively's entire legal strategy is crumbling, and if the perjury charges gain traction, she could be looking at real jail time. Not just a Hollywood slap on the wrist, but actual prison.
Her allegations have fallen apart, and her "I was not really a bully, I was just targeted" allegations have fallen apart. And now he's going full Johnny Depp on her to show that she was the bully. She was the one harassing him.
Let's talk about the key players in this circus. On one side, we have Justin Baldoni, the director and producer who actually cared about making a meaningful film. On the other, we have Blake Lively, an actress who somehow convinced herself she was Hollywood's answer to both Meryl Streep and Martin Scorsese. Then there's Ryan Reynolds, Lively's equally insufferable husband, lurking in the background, allegedly whispering advice like some kind of comedy messiah. And let's not forget Taylor Swift, who, because she simply must be involved in every drama, was allegedly pulling strings behind the scenes. With a lineup like that, how could this not end in disaster?
The hatred on both sides is so intense, it makes you wonder if there was like a deep attraction, that whether it was consummated or not.
So how did this all start? Simple. Lively wanted total control, despite the fact that she was just an actress. She wasn't the director. She wasn't the producer. She wasn't the screenwriter. And yet, she acted like this was her personal vanity project. She wanted to bend the entire movie to her will, turning a story about domestic violence and healing into a bizarre, comedic, fashion-forward spectacle. The irony? She allegedly never even read the book the movie was based on.
Blake Lively did not even read the book that the movie was based on.
Correct.
And we're not talking War and Peace. This is a book that's probably written at a second grade reading level.
Yeah.
That's right. She tried to take over a project without even bothering to understand its source material. If that's not the most Blake Lively thing ever, I don't know what is. Justin Baldoni had one goal: make a movie that honored the emotional depth of Colleen Hoover's novel. He wanted the rawness, the heartbreak, the intensity that made the book a bestseller. And then in comes Lively, reportedly demanding rewrites to inject humor into the story.
She's dressing in florals, and then she's going on this press tour, pushing her liquor line and her hair care line, because that's what women who are trying to escape with their lives are worried about.
That's what generated her negative press.
Because apparently, what a film about trauma and survival really needs is a few well-placed one-liners. And let's not ignore the high fashion aesthetic she pushed for, because why wouldn't a story about a woman trapped in an abusive relationship be the perfect place for couture gowns and designer handbags? Fans were horrified when early set photos leaked. Instead of the gritty, realistic tone they expected, they got Lively strutting around in high heels like she was filming a Vogue commercial. And let's not pretend this was just a minor creative disagreement. Reports claim Lively and Baldoni clashed constantly on set. And when she didn't get her way, she allegedly went straight to the studio executives, pressuring them to sideline Baldoni from his own project. She rewrote entire scenes, demanded final say on edits, and essentially tried to force Baldoni out of creative decisions. Because nothing says professional actress like trying to steal the director's job mid-production.
They berated Justin for things that were going on the set that they didn't like. They took control of the script. Blake personally, with Ryan's help, rewrote scenes. Again, not within the purview of an actress.
Of course, Ryan Reynolds was allegedly right there, backing her up. Reports claim he encouraged Lively to inject humor into the film, because apparently, when your entire career is built on making sarcastic quips in superhero movies, you start thinking every movie needs a Deadpool moment. And let's not ignore the fact that he reportedly berated Baldoni in a private meeting at their Manhattan penthouse, an interaction so hostile that even a Sony representative walked away shocked.
Your director.
Yes.
If you don't like this, have the balls to do it yourself.
Right.
Like, don't have your husband
Why
throw
would
his
you have
weight
a
around.
meeting with your husband? That's so weird. Like your husband who's Ryan Reynolds. Of course it was a threat.
Naturally, this all exploded into one of the biggest legal battles Hollywood has ever seen. Baldoni wasn't about to let Lively's self-indulgent antics and smear campaign go unchallenged, so he slapped her with a defamation lawsuit. Because when you accuse someone of being a tyrannical, abusive director, you better be able to prove it. And guess what? Lively couldn't.
And in your penthouse, like on your home turf, like using your wealth as leverage,
right?
Like showing off, like
and
look
your
at
friend Taylor,
and your friend Taylor, who's like, what is she doing there? Is she just like scrolling Instagram?
One of my dragons.
What is she like? That is just wild. I think he'll learn a lot from this.
But of course, Lively fired back with her own lawsuit, claiming Baldoni harassed, bullied, and mistreated her on set. Suddenly, she wasn't just an actress throwing a tantrum over creative differences. She was a victim of workplace abuse. Convenient, right? It's the Amber Heard strategy 2.0. When all else fails, play the victim card. The parallels are almost laughable. Lively wasn't just upset about the movie. She wanted to destroy Baldoni's career.
I guess he's in some small thing I never saw, but she's saying, F with me and we'll crush you. My dragons and I, the biggest movie star, one of them in the planet, the biggest pop star in the planet, and I will hurt you unless I get my way.
And because no Hollywood scandal is complete without media interference, the New York Times jumped in to rescue Lively's reputation, publishing a suspiciously convenient hit piece that painted Baldoni as a monster and Lively as the poor, innocent starlet fighting against the big, bad industry men. Baldoni wasn't having it. He sued the New York Times for $250 million, accusing them of deliberately twisting facts to favor Lively. And honestly, he's probably right. Because if there's one thing Hollywood loves, it's protecting its privileged elites, no matter how insufferable they are.
And by the way, good luck to Blake Lively in getting hired again, because all of her diva antics are coming out and the way she behaves behind the scenes. And now this with the lawsuit and the New York Times thing, because she's now filed against him as well. So it's a terrible move by her and them, PR-wise.
Lively's team allegedly spent months leaking negative stories about Baldoni while playing the victim in the press. Every scandal, every controversy, every hit piece, strategically placed to make Lively look like a poor, mistreated actress fighting against the system. And yet, when Baldoni tried to defend himself, Lively tried to get a gag order to silence him. Thankfully, the judge denied it, and now the floodgates are wide open.
He even says we now have a concrete timeline, which we believe implicates Blake Lively. And I mean, come on. I was the psycho who put together the timeline. So I think they've been watching the show.
The latest bombshell? She allegedly submitted or endorsed falsified evidence in court. That's right. She might have straight up lied under oath, and if that's proven, she's not just looking at a failed career, she's looking at up to 5 years in prison. Imagine that. Blake Lively, Hollywood's self-proclaimed golden girl, swapping designer gowns for an orange jumpsuit.
On Monday, they're going to court because two things. Blake is trying to gag them. I don't think that's going to go through. How can you try to say you're playing this in the press when the entire reason we got here was because you tried to play this in the press? Like, you went to the New York Times to try to take him down and to set a public narrative. And now that it's backfiring, you want out.
This isn't just some baseless rumor. Legal experts are actually considering the possibility of perjury charges. Megyn Kelly herself compared this entire scandal to Amber Heard's disastrous courtroom meltdown. And honestly, it's the perfect analogy. Just like Heard, Lively tried to twist public perception, played the victim, and hoped no one would look too closely at the facts. Except now, people are looking. And it's not looking good.
You see the text with him and Blake being like, please don't worry about this at all, I got you. It's just the picture they're painting of him is so gross. It's another Amber Johnny situation, in my opinion.
Behind the scenes, her legal team is scrambling like rats on a sinking ship. They're reportedly desperate to counteract the latest leaks, which, let's be honest, expose Lively's entire PR strategy as nothing more than a calculated hit job against Baldoni. If there was ever a moment where her little game fell apart, this is it. And then there's the text message disaster. Leaked messages show her orchestrating a media smear campaign, painting herself as the innocent victim while framing Baldoni as the villain. It's textbook manipulation, something we've seen before from Hollywood's finest liars. These messages aren't just bad optics. They're potential smoking guns in a legal battle that could destroy her reputation for good.
So Brian Friedman, in that first lawsuit against the Times, produced the text messages, and I've seen them all. And it shows that, take the two that you alleged, the alleged that they subjected poor Blake Lively to.
But Lively isn't the only one caught in this web of deceit. Her equally obnoxious husband, Ryan Reynolds, is right in the middle of this mess. You'd think he'd be smart enough to keep his mouth shut, but nope. He allegedly went full Hollywood bully mode on Baldoni at a private meeting in their luxurious Manhattan penthouse. According to sources, Reynolds berated Baldoni so aggressively that even a Sony representative present at the meeting was left stunned. Imagine thinking you're so powerful that you can just scream at a director in your living room and get away with it.
Ryan Reynolds comes off terribly. He had them over to their penthouse in New York, and Taylor Swift was believed to be there, according to this latest complaint.
But wait, it gets even messier. Allegedly, Taylor Swift was right there in the room, adding another layer of ridiculousness to this already absurd scandal. Because of course she was. Swift, Lively's bestie for life and the reigning queen of calculated PR, has been rumored to have played a role in shaping Lively's media strategy. And now, people are wondering, just how deep is Taylor Swift in this mess?
Blake Lively comparing herself to the heroine of Game of Thrones, the fiercest female character we've seen in years, Khaleesi.
And then we have the infamous dragon deities. This is where Lively went full Game of Thrones, allegedly referring to Ryan Reynolds and Taylor Swift as her dragons, boasting that she could unleash them to destroy Baldoni's reputation. First of all, let's take a second to process the sheer cringe of that statement. She really thought she was Daenerys Targaryen, didn't she? The delusion is off the charts.
That's her riding her dragon. She's the mother of dragons in Game of Thrones. And that's what Blake Lively says in a text message, that she too has her dragons, Ryan Reynolds and Taylor Swift.
But more importantly, this isn't just a dumb nickname. It reveals just how calculated her attack on Baldoni was. She wasn't just mad about creative decisions. She was actively planning to use her A-list connections to ruin him.
And that they are powerful advocates for her. And while it seems to be said like, I'm so lucky that I have them as great storytellers to help me rewrite the script, what Brian Friedman alleges is, you'll go along or I'll unleash my dragons on you, you loser who no one's ever heard of.
And let's talk about Ryan Reynolds' involvement in the script rewrites. Because yes, apparently Mr. Deadpool himself thought he knew better than the actual director. Reports suggest that Reynolds helped Lively insert comedy into a film about domestic violence. Because, you know, that's exactly what the story needed. Sarcastic quips and punchlines. What's hilarious is that the moment backlash hit, Reynolds started distancing himself from the entire thing. So he was fine with meddling behind the scenes, but the second the public turned on Lively, he just pretended he was never involved. Classic.
They have text messages in which Blake tells Justin, this is in the latest lawsuit, you know, I know you've never watched Game of Thrones, but when you get around to watching it, you'll realize I'm Khaleesi and these are my dragons. And I have the best dragons in the business, right? Ryan Reynolds and Taylor Swift. And what they're alleging is that, let's face it, none of us has ever heard of Justin Baldoni before this whole thing. I mean, who the hell is he?
Now, legal experts are questioning whether Reynolds could actually be dragged into this lawsuit. Some even suggest he could be accused of interference. Imagine that. Hollywood's most annoyingly wholesome couple going down together in a legal dumpster fire. If that's not poetic justice, I don't know what is. But let's not forget the biggest turning point in this entire saga. Justin Baldoni's genius move to launch a website exposing everything. While Lively was busy playing the victim, Baldoni dropped 168 pages of cold, hard receipts, including emails, texts, and production notes that completely obliterate Lively's claims.
But poor Blake was subjected to this picture, which is just an example of how she loves to play the victim.
And let's break down what those documents actually revealed. Text messages confirming that Lively pushed for comedy-heavy rewrites, proving once and for all that she wasn't some helpless actress being silenced. She was actively demanding creative control. Emails from studio executives complaining about Lively's ridiculous interference, proving that even the people financing the film were fed up with her antics. Production complaints about wardrobe changes and last-minute demands, because apparently, turning a serious drama into a fashion show was more important than staying true to the book's emotional depth. And the best part? Fans are now completely divided. Some diehard Lively supporters are still trying to defend her, but most people can see the truth, that she lied, manipulated, and played the victim to destroy a director's career. The evidence is so overwhelming that even her most loyal fans can't spin this in her favor anymore. And legal experts? They're saying the leaked evidence could completely obliterate Lively's legal case. Because when you get caught rewriting history with actual text messages contradicting your statements, there's really no coming back from that.
Like, I know that this girl grew up rich and privileged, but how rich we talking? You know what I'm saying? Because does she think she's just like a princess that she can just be like, I don't like your lawyer and I don't want to sit down with him and answer questions and tell the truth. So she's trying to get out of having to sit down.
At this point, Lively isn't just fighting for public sympathy. She's fighting to avoid complete career destruction. Because Hollywood has a short memory for scandals, but one thing it never forgets: a reputation for being impossible to work with. And Lively has just cemented herself as Hollywood's latest untouchable liability. The New York Times just couldn't resist the urge to jump into this mess, could they? Instead of reporting facts, they did what Hollywood's favorite PR machine does best: twist the narrative, cherry-pick details, and paint Blake Lively as the poor, helpless victim. Their article didn't just favor Lively. It practically turned Justin Baldoni into a cartoon villain. According to the NYT, he wasn't just a director trying to save his film from a delusional actress. No, they had to portray him as some controlling, oppressive force who crushed Lively's artistic spirit.
You don't like him because he played your game better than you. Like, you guys went to the New York Times. Oh, nobody could be bigger than the New York Times before you filed your lawsuit, as all of the evidence is indicating, because you wanted to set the public narrative against Justin Baldoni. Now that it's backfiring, you're like, hey, I want people gagged. This is unprofessional to go to the press.
Because, of course, a multimillionaire actress married to one of the most powerful men in Hollywood is the real victim here, right? The New York Times treated Lively like a fragile flower being trampled by an evil filmmaker, conveniently ignoring the mountains of evidence proving she orchestrated a smear campaign against Baldoni. They didn't mention the 168 pages of leaked emails and texts that showed Lively's power plays. They didn't highlight the court filings proving she was rewriting history. Instead, they just spoon-fed their readers another predictable, woman silenced by the industry sob story. And Megyn Kelly wasn't having any of it. She tore the NYT apart, calling them out for being nothing more than a Hollywood mouthpiece. And honestly, she's right. The Times isn't in the business of reporting facts anymore. They're in the business of protecting elites, no matter how insufferable, dishonest, or manipulative they are. Kelly exposed how the entire article was carefully crafted to control the public narrative, presenting only the evidence that made Lively look good, while burying everything that made her look like the power-hungry diva she is. And the public? They saw right through it. The backlash was immediate and brutal. Social media exploded with outrage, calling out the NYT for obvious bias and accusing them of deliberately misleading the public. Twitter was flooded with receipts, people pointing out the blatant contradictions in Lively's story. The leaked texts, the actual legal documents, all the things the NYT conveniently ignored. It was a PR disaster for both Lively and the so-called journalists, who bent over backward to protect her. And Baldoni's making sure they pay for their dishonesty. According to his legal team, the NYT article was deliberately misleading and designed to destroy his career. And honestly, that's exactly what it looked like. It wasn't journalism. It was a hit piece designed to keep Lively's crumbling reputation afloat. If you loved watching Blake Lively's downfall unfold, hit that subscribe button because trust me, this Hollywood disaster is far from over.